A very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on MTV Sports. I'm Ravi Gamage.
A very good evening. I'm Mahina Bongzo. As usual, we take a look at the stories that are making headlines tonight.
A fuel subsidy for fishermen in the wake of protests. State sector employees demand a subsidy on kerosene. Speaking exclusively to News First, the former Maldivian president says the Sri Lankan government must talk to all sides involved in the Maldivian crisis. And ODI between Sri Lanka and India ends in a tie for the first time in history.
We start off with a look at some local news first. President Mahinda Rajapaksa arrived at the Changi International Airport in Singapore this afternoon, beginning a two-day official visit. The Presidential Secretariat stated that President Mahinda Rajapaksa is visiting Singapore on an invitation extended by Singaporean President Dr. Tony Tam Keng Yam. President Rajapaksa is scheduled to hold bilateral talks with the President and Prime Minister of Singapore tomorrow. The President's media unit stated that several memorandums of understanding will be inked between the two countries at the meeting.
Several places in Colombo went underwater following heavy downpour experienced this evening. Traffic was hampered as a result of this.
Colombo's bright sunshine disappeared in a matter of minutes, giving way to an ominous darkness, and at around 4 p.m. the heavens opened, unleashing a heavy downpour. This is how News First cameras captured the thunder shower. Duplication Road in Bambalapitiya went underwater in a matter of minutes following the torrential downpour. Meanwhile, traffic was disrupted when a tree fell down on Ananda Rajkarna Mawatha. According to the Met Department, thunder showers are likely in many parts of the island tonight.
This is not a sudden change. We have already forecast about this situation yesterday. Thunder showers will develop at several places or most parts of the island during the afternoon or evening. Special things are there may be temporary localized fairly strong winds during thunder showers, and general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize the damages caused by lightning activities.
Well, a comprehensive report on the views expressed by the former Maldivian president is coming up later on in the news. But before that, the government has decided to grant a subsidy to fishermen to offset the fuel price increase. Minister of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Development, Dr. Rajitha Senaratne, said that a subsidy of 25 rupees will be given for a litre of kerosene, while a subsidy of 12 rupees will be given for a litre of diesel. The minister said this at a media briefing today.
Every multi-day fishing trawler and one-day fishing trawler that operate on diesel will be given a subsidy of 12 rupees per litre. Thereby, a person will be receiving a sum of 30,000 rupees for every multi-day trawler per month. Moreover, one-day diesel fishing trawlers will receive around 18,000. This is a subsidy of 40%. Around 21,000 individuals will be given the kerosene subsidy of 25 rupees each per litre. Thereby, they will only have to pay 10 rupees in addition. This is a subsidy of 80%. The Ministry of Fisheries and Aquatic Resource Development announced yesterday that a concession will be given to fishermen to offset the increase in fuel prices. However, fishermen in several areas carried out protests today as well, demanding that they too be given a fair solution like the bus owners. Thereafter, a tense situation arose between a group of protesters and individuals inside a Navy truck which had arrived at the scene. Meanwhile, the police fired tear gas to disperse a group of fishermen who had gathered opposite the church on Beach Road, Negombo. Meanwhile, a group of fishermen in Mirissa, Waligama conducted a protest against the fuel price hike by remaining inside their fishing boats. According to our correspondent, security in the area had been beefed up during the demonstration. In Chilau, the police did not allow fishermen to engage in a demonstration on the beach. Fishermen in several areas in Puttlam staged a demonstration at the Madurankulya town, demanding a reduction in fuel prices. Fishermen from Periyapadua, Sinnapadua, Kanda Thoduava and Thoduava areas too engaged in the demonstration. According to our correspondent, the protesters dispersed after having discussions with the police. Meanwhile, our correspondent said that a protest organized at the Kudavela Fisheries Harbour was not conducted in the wake of objections raised by Southern Provincial Council cooperatives and Fisheries Minister D. Upul. The JVP also conducted protests in several areas against the fuel price hike. Yet another protest organized by the JVP was staged opposite the Gaul main bus stand yesterday. A similar protest was held in Mathura as well.
Although motor vehicles cannot operate without fuel, bullock carts can. Our cameras captured how a group of provincial councillors took to the bullock cart this morning in order to register their protest over the latest fuel price hike.
A group of United National Party councillors in the Southern Provincial Council arrived for this morning's council meeting in bullock carts. Provincial Councillor Bandulalal Bandarigoda, who was the first to arrive in a bullock cart, was not permitted to enter the Provincial Council premises by the police. Meanwhile, United People's Freedom Alliance councillor Lasantha Wijayanayake arrived in his motor vehicle for the council meeting. Councillor Bandulal Bandarigoda began protesting over this, and the police allowed him to enter the provincial council premises in his bullock cart. Bandarigoda's bullock cart then resumed its journey into the council premises. UNP councillor Vijaypala Hettiarachchi also arrived for the council meeting in a bullock cart and was allowed to enter without any hassle. I used the vehicle I could afford to use to come to the provincial council. The common man can only travel by bullock cart now. The price of diesel has been increased, the price of petrol has increased. The price of kerosene, which the poor man uses to light kerosene lamps, has been increased. So the government is asking us to use bullock carts. Meanwhile, UNP councillors in the North Central Provincial Council also used the same mode of transport to lodge their protest over the fuel price hike. 9 councillors, including the opposition leader of the North Central Province, arrived in this manner. The councillors travelled about 2 kilometres along the main road from the town and entered the premises of the Provincial Council in their bullock carts.
The United National Party states that the government has resorted to a popular method to collect public money on a large scale. General Secretary of the party, Tissatha Nayaka, made this allegation at a media briefing today.
This is the first time in history that fuel prices have been increased in such a manner. The Mahinda Chintanaya has set a record in that aspect. When the collapse of not only the government but also public services was evident, it increased bus fares by 20%. It is their idea of a Valentine's Day gift. The government is resorting to various popular methods to collect the people's money on a large scale for its own needs.
විවිධාකාරයෙන් තමන්ගේ අවශ්‍යතාව වෙනුවෙන් එක්රැස් කරන ජනප්‍රිය ක්‍රමවේදයන් වලට ආණ්ඩු යනවා.
Meanwhile, the All Ceylon Estate Workers Union also commented on the latest fuel price hike at a media briefing today.
ආණ්ඩු තුස්සා කරන ක්‍රමානුකූලව ඔවුන්ගේ නාස්තිකාර වීදම්
The government is trying to meticulously cover up its wasteful expenses. By raising fuel prices, it is attempting to burden the estate workers who make up a majority of those who are suffering. Therefore, we are asking the companies and the government not to let this happen and to immediately grant a kerosene subsidy to the estate workers. This is the third time that kerosene prices have been increased after workers were granted a salary increase in 2011. The price of kerosene oil alone has increased by 55 rupees a litre. 40% of estate workers live using kerosene oil lamps. Therefore, the increase in kerosene oil prices is a problem which directly affects the estate workers. Incidentally, the Ministry of Finance, issuing a release yesterday, stated that measures have been taken to provide a special kerosene subsidy stamp through some of the offices for families who do not have access to electricity.
The rupee fell to a new low of 120 to the US dollar today. The fall of the rupee began with the Central Bank of Sri Lanka deciding not to intervene and peg the exchange rate. Economic analysts point out that although the decision of the Central Bank will affect people in the short term, on the whole, it will benefit the economy.
As per the foreign exchange rates released by the central bank this morning, US dollar was 117 rupees, while the selling rate was 119 rupees and 40 cents. Forex merchants stated that the buying rate of the dollar rose to 120 rupees and 50 cents in the market today. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has consistently intervened in the recent past to stabilize the rupee against the dollar by selling US dollars in the forex market. This, however, caused a serious reduction in the country's foreign reserves. The rupee has fallen sharply ever since the central bank decided to minimize intervention in the forex market.
But government has done it in late, though. It is a right step in the right direction. Our imports were increasing and exports were not increasing. And in fact, the first 11 months saw an increase in this gap of over 35%, about 35%. 1.1 billion rupee increase was, $1.1 billion increase was foreseen in the first 11 months. So that had to be corrected. Our reserves in foreign exchange has dramatically gone down. And thirdly, the banks having purchased all the dollars the central bank was selling had very little liquidity.
Chandra Jayaratna also points out that the depreciation of the rupee will cause the prices of imports to increase, leading to consumers facing an additional burden.
But only thing that they have tried to do in the process is to try to introduce a subsidy scheme for those who are affected. Now, if you look at this country, subsidies have never worked effectively implemented. Subsidies are a very difficult thing to implement. Prices of electricity will go up, prices of gas will go up, and that will have an adverse effect.
Just like the weather in Colombo today, the Colombo Stock Exchange was all gloom with the market nosediving for the 9th straight day. While the benchmark all-share price index shed a massive 190.02 points, the more liquid Milanka price index slid by 170.37 points. The ASPI dropped by as much as 4.5% this morning, but at the close of trading had recovered somewhat, losing 3.5% compared to the previous close. So far this year, the Colombo Stock Exchange has dropped by a staggering 18%, a stunning reversal of its performance in the same period last year. Market analysts state that stocks which had been artificially inflated in the recent past are now reflecting their true value.